Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the Japanese tier 10 tech tree medium tank, the STB-1. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the STB-1, it's a pretty old school tank at this point. It's got hydro-pneumatic suspension, which is not everyone's cup of tea, it really isn't. Which means that the gun does have a pretty damn annoying bobble. But because of the suspension, you do get 14 degrees of gun depression. And one way to help alleviate that bobble a little bit with that 14 degrees of gun depression is to make sure that you are aiming over the front of the vehicle, because, and I mean directly over the front, because the moment you start to go over the tracks with your gun to the left or right, that's where it starts to activate the suspension and it starts to do funky things, and that makes your gun bobble, which can be deeply frustrating. With the STB-1, it's one of those that I really do wish that they just add a new package or a new track module or something to it, which means you could take the pneumatic suspension if you wanted, have the 14 degrees of gun depression, or you could have the old school STB-1 basically, which had, I think it was 9 degrees of gun depression, which is still great, and then you don't have to deal with the annoying bobble. Because the problem for the STB-1 is that the bobble is a bit irritating, and add to that, your gun handling is a little bit poor, which means that generally you are affected by that bobble more than some of the other vehicles that do have this hydro-pneumatic suspension, because every time the gun bobbles, it resets the aiming circle, which then gets really frustrating. When you're in stationary positions like you're seeing here in the STB-1, it can be a beautiful tank, and that is because you have such good DPM on this vehicle. With the build that I run, I've got it up to 4009 DPM, which was always the strength of the STB-1. Was the fact that it had 390 alpha, and it always had that 4K plus DPM, which was absolute filth. And it was a beautiful thing for the STB-1 to have. It was an absolute asset. The only problem these days is that they've overbuffed quite a few of the tier 10 mediums, like the American ones, like the M48 120mm, or the T95E6, for example, or even the 430 with the 122mm gun, that all have that 390 alpha, but are 4K plus DPM. And in fact, they actually have better DPM than you at 4.1K DPM with a similar setup too, which is pure pain. And they don't actually have to contend with the bobble either, which, again, is pure pain. So, yeah, the actual strength of the STB-1 has definitely been killed a little bit in that regard. And it's not a case of really the STB-1 needing buffing in terms of its DPM, because its DPM is all fantastic and good enough. It's probably that they just overbuffed the other medium tanks generally. The one thing that they did with this vehicle when they brought in the hydro-pneumatic suspension is they basically went half-cocked on the change, and that is when PC did it, they basically made this cannon, 360 alpha, have even slightly higher DPM than it has now, with 360 alpha, and then gave it some sort of turret armor, which still is not a guaranteed bounce of anything, but it was enough that you could actually ricochet quite a few shots with it if you were using your gun depression, and it gave it that little bit of durability that we truly lack, because the one thing that this tank truly lacks is the ability to just be able to take that hit while it's on the ridgeline, because you do end up spending a little bit extra time exposed on the ridgeline to be able to actually aim your gun and take the shot, because the gun is derpy. You have to contend with the gun bobble and all of that jazz, which can be a bit of pure pain for the old STB-1, because, I mean, their gun mantle is about 282 thickness, whereas ours is only about 245, which means that, again, theirs is, you know, around about weaker on the edges of the turret, but where the gun mantle is, where it's more likely to take hits, it just means that being that bit thicker, when you are hull down, you are actually more likely to ricochet shots. And again, it just gives you that ability to just bounce things, which can be handy. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the old STB-1? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, and Optics. Optics to get up to 525 meters of view range that I have with this build. The Gun Stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation down to 1.12, and the accuracy during movement down to 1.74. mixed in with the gun perks that we have as well from the crew, which is still not very good. And the camouflage expertise to knock the camo down to 326 meters of still concealment, with the silent driving to make our camo better while on the move as well, so that we can have some sort of stealth, so that we can take positions like you saw at the start of this game on Westfield, and we can stay unspotted while farming with this fantastic DPM that the tank has. Because while there is still other tanks out there that obviously have better DPM than you now, which it was never used to truly be the case, unless it was like a Soviet 100mm, right? The tank can absolutely farm up still, which is a beautiful thing for it. It's an absolute asset. You've got this 258 penetration on the standard APDS round, which is enough to go through most things. You've got 330 heat pen, which will butcher everything as well. 1478 meters of second shell velocity means that you are a fantastic sniper in that regard too. Just the .29 accuracy that can let you down at times, which is still fantastic, but it's just that the gun does like to derp sometimes for you, which can be frustrating. So we finished that first game with the 1665 base XP with 6.5k damage, 5 kills, the 1572 assistance. A really nice game that on Westfield for the STB-1, and that one showed basically what the STB wants to be doing. It wants to be sticking to those ridge lines, hiding its hull because its hull armor tends to just get absolutely butchered, keeping yourself in sort of more concealed positions where you can just keep farming with this fantastic DPM that this tank has. And naturally, like with the crew skills and the new equipment and stuff like that that came with 6.0, the gun handling on this tank used to be absolutely atrocious. Like, that was the thing. That was the trade-off. That was the balancing factor almost, right? Is the fact that this tank had absolutely incredible DPM. But the gun would love, absolutely adore, missing. And with the new crew skills, I say new, not really new nowadays, it's 3 years down, right? But with the crew skills that came with 6.0, and with the gun stabilizer being the way it is and stuff like that, getting the accuracy during rotation and movement down so low means that the gun doesn't bloom out anywhere near as much as it used to. And then also you are more accurate with that .29 accuracy, because naturally you're 10% more accurate in general with the steady aim. You got better accuracy during rotation now with the snapshot perk as well. And it just means that the general gun handling of the vehicle is a lot better. And having .29 accuracy, yeah, the gun generally hits probably 85% of its shots. It still does love a good derp every now and then, but generally you're going to hit most of your shots. The times you're going to derp is when the gun bobbles, quite frankly. And on a map like Prokhorovka that you're seeing here, it can be pretty awkward, because fighting this ridgeline, fighting against a Murat or a T95E6 that we're seeing right in front of us there, that guy doesn't have to contend with a gun bobble. He can literally poke over a ridgeline, not take any seconds to aim, just poke over, go bam. I have to take it slowly, I have to take it cautiously to make sure that the gun isn't going to bobble, to make sure that the aim circle is ready to go, and to make sure that I can get the shot in, which means I have to take an extra second or two on this ridgeline, which means I'm overexposed for an extra second or two, which means I'm more likely to take a hit. And without that durability on the turret, which I'm not saying the turret can't bounce things, because it can, right? 245mm of gun mantlet armor is still pretty decent. It's just the fact that, especially when you consider that a lot of premium rounds will come in your way from tier 10, right? They will still go straight through your gun mantlet, and that is pure pain. You just get the occasional bounce because of, like, Batchat type armor, right? Where it's not the thickest, but angles count for something. And yeah, it's just one of those things. This gun bobble can be irritating, but with 2.12 second aim time as well, you can just see it here with this farm that we've got going on Prokhorovka, that we just have to give it that second. I don't trust the gun enough. I have to give it that second to make sure it's aimed, to be able to get the shots in and make sure that it's definitely going to hit, so that I can use this 4009 DPM that I have on my build. Naturally, with this vehicle, because we have 525 meters of view range with code optics, you might consider actually dropping optics and going with vents instead. And the reason I say vents is so that you can get basically the best DPM you can push out of the vehicle, and that is up to like 4,112 DPM or something like that, which is definitely very nice. By the way, that T95E6 was definitely running advanced armor and the armor angling. The amount of low rolls we got on that guy was crazy. So he was definitely running those armor angling, advanced armor perk things, reducing the damage coming in by 10%, because those low rolls, bro, they were something serious. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so you could run vents to make everything about the tank better, because naturally if you run vents, you're going to make your accuracy during rotation, movement, your general accuracy, your aim time slightly better, as well as having that fantastic DPM, right? And you still get 488 meters of view range, which means you still got fantastic view range, you're still going to spot for yourself, so that's always an option. Or you could decide, you know what, I'm not going to run vents or optics, so you can get up to 470 odd meters of view range without them, which is still decent, but it just means that on maps like Proc, you're not going to get spotting games quite like we've had so far. But you will be able to run something like the traction system instead to get up to 57 kilometers an hour, I believe you'll be able to get up to, or 58 kilometers an hour with the traction system, because this tank does have a top speed of 53 kilometers an hour top speed, with a 20 kilometer an hour reverse speed, 20.05 horsepower per ton ratio, means you do hit that 53 kilometers an hour top speed very, very easily, and yeah, you will be able to zip about the battlefield even quicker. It's down to you and how you feel personally confident and comfortable in playing a vehicle. So you saw that second game, we finished with the 4.8k damage, 5.2k assistance. We ended up 10k combined. The first class, the Confederate, with the 1624 base XP. A pretty darn nice game again there for the STB-1 on Prokhorovka, which again just showed it a little bit of the awkwardness on the ridgeline, where we have to just make sure that we're going to aim the shot in to be able to actually dish it out, right? And it can be pain in that regard for the fact that, yeah, no one else has to do that, just you. And you don't really have the armour to hang around on that ridgeline for that little bit extra time that you do have to do it. So we're on to the third replay, and the third replay we are here on this map, which is Hellfire Pass. And on Hellfire Pass, what I want to do from this spawn that we've got is rush to the position at G8, and from G8 I can go hull down, shoot across at people that cross along the little hilly ridge line that goes across the G6 and then up the 6 line, cut out that across from them, and then I can also turn around and shoot people that might camp down at K5, or anyone that tries to cross the JK in general. It's a very, very good early position for a mobile tank, because naturally if you're in something that's a little bit slower, you're possibly not going to be able to actually get to this position before the enemy team gets into a place to cut you off, and you can take quite a few hits if you're in a tank that's doing about 30 to 35, this position is definitely a struggle. But in the STB-1 with the 53 kilometer an hour top speed, yeah, you will be able to get here. So we found the 114 SP2. You can just see the shell looped into the top of his turret. And like I said, the gun handling isn't too bad when you do get it fully aimed. It's just when you're moving and when you're like stopping and starting is where the gun handling can start to really troll you. If you're in a position like we were in the Westfield game, or like there where you can just stop, sit, make sure you're fully aimed all the time, just keep the gun flowing, you're going to have a great time with this DPM. Because the one thing you've got to be careful of when you're moving backwards and forwards all the time is that you do not go above 20 kilometers an hour. Because if the one thing that's a good point, to be fair, just thought about it, well played brain, is that if you are in a siege mode tank or a hydropneumatic suspension vehicle, it's different for most of them. It depends on which speed they're going at. But the hydropneumatic suspension, so where you're able to activate that and get down to 14 degrees of gun depression, that activates at less than 20 kilometers an hour in this vehicle. So if the moment you touch above 20 kilometers an hour, you've just seen the icon change with me doing it there. That's when the hydropneumatic suspension will kick off, and you'll go back to the normal 9 degrees of gun depression the STB-1 has. The moment you drop below 20 kilometers an hour, the suspension activates, and that's where you get the quick moment of Bobble. And that's where you start to have the suspension starts to activate by the moment you look down. The more you look down or point your gun down to the floor is the more that your suspension activates and looks down, right? And that's where, again, the bobble can cause itself. And that also means, having this hydropneumatic suspension, that if you are playing this tank and you're wondering why the auto drive on this tank doesn't work, it's because the auto drive will work after you hit 20 kilometers an hour. So the moment you hit 20 kilometers an hour, that's when you can actually activate auto drive, and that's when you'll be able to use that and not have to basically keep the stick pushed down, right? Which can be sometimes, especially when you want to just motor away, you just put auto drive on, lazy drive it, let it go, right? So if you do wonder why, and you think, oh, auto drive's broken on this vehicle, it's not, it just activates after 20 kilometers an hour. And you can activate it after that, right? But the moment you drop below 20 kilometers an hour, so say you're going up a hill, it will deactivate itself, so be very, very careful of that. So right here, you are seeing the awkwardness that we are having with the suspension and the fact that we don't have any armor. Because we've managed to shut down the E5, we've managed to shut down the Waffle Panzer IV, but in the blink of an eye from stuff that's at the back, we've basically lost all of our hit points because they went straight through the turret front, absolutely no problem. And we were struggling to make sure that the gun was going to hit, or we were managing to get the shot that we wanted on those tanks, because the gun was bobbling, and so I was taking the extra second or two to make sure that the gun was going to hit on target. And yeah, that's where we lost most of our hit points, and now we've got a very, very awkward game on our hands for the fact that we don't really have any hit points left, and all it takes is one tank to get lucky with a shot on the move or something like that to take us out. We poke over, get a shot into the Batchat 25T, but we get detected for poking over, which means that something else was looking at us, because the Batchat wasn't looking at us, so our detector went off. So there's still something up there. There it is, it's a Bat Tap. Good night, Mr. Bat Tap. That is a high roll, 433. We'll take those rolls to the bank every day. And we shut that French Tier 9 medium tank out of this game. We're up to 5.3k damage with 3 kills, 243 assistance, and we are on the move. People have started capping, so we're going to go for the RBRT shot into the Leopard PTA and keep our progression on towards the cap, because there's 2 guys left on the cap, and there's a TD. There's a TD that's spotted at G3, and there's, like I say, 2 guys on the cap, which means we are completely safe to progress towards our cap, and we know that there's going to be nothing waiting in surprise in ambush to go, hello friend, I'm here to murder you, and you just shut us down prematurely and end our game, which we don't want so far, because we're having a decent game, 5.4k with 4 kills, we're having a good time. So we're going to take this cap as cautiously as we can. I don't want to go down the hill on the right hand side because I didn't want to give them a very easy shot at me to just shut me down. We get a sneaky early shot into the T95E6, but he is currently staring at us, as you would be, because he knows exactly where we are, so I don't want to chance it. But we're just seeing if we maybe could get a shot at his cupola, but we just can't quite see him over the rock, and he is still staring. He's got medium heavy tank and a TD looking at him, and it's like, hello, there we go, finally he's distracted. We come round, RBRT, finish him off, waiting for the really good reload that this vehicle gets. I mean, 5.3 second reload with the food boost is fantastic, and we shut down the Batchat 25T for our 6th kill of the game, securing the top gun, which is always what we wanted. 6 kills, 6.1k damage, 243 assistance, high caliber, the first class, the defender medal, the top gun, with the 1602 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the STB-1. And yeah, again, showed the awkwardness of the STB-1, but also the nice things of the STB-1. You know, you can see the shell velocity is really nice. The DPM's great. Gun sometimes is a bit wonky. The bobble can be frustrating. When you're on a ridgeline like that and people start to focus you, all of your hit points vanish because you don't really bounce anything. You can pull off the occasional ricochet, but yeah, it's not something you want to be truly relying on. It's going to let you down at times, which, yeah, is a bit frustrating for the STB-1, especially compared to a lot of the other medium tanks at the tier. So here we are on Himmelsdorf. Not the best map for the STB-1. We're having a bit of a suspension issue here, where you can see it just randomly looking into the sky because of the way it was. But there we go. We're against the T95, and we are looking at the lower plate of the T95, which one shot went in, one bounced. We finish off the LHMTV because it's like, oh, hello, Mr. British Tier 8 light tank. Okay, don't mind if I shut you down. And we're just staying in the perfect place for the STB-1 at this point. We can just look straight down this 3 line, sit here using the good gun depression that we have. I'll say maybe ricochet shot off the turret front, but also they're not really going to spot us because our camo is pretty good. They're not really going to spot us until we fire, or they fully drive around the corner, which is going to give us an easy shot. And if they do give us an easy shot, naturally, we can just pull back behind. We can just pull back really easily and get safe. It's why it's a good position to take. The Grill 15 ends up firing down the train tracks. I have no idea where that shot on him went, because it looked like it should have gone somewhere, but it didn't. And we ended up missing it. We take the shot on the move at the Type 59-2, and it hits. We are spotting that Type 59-2, and I decided, okay, I'm going to put pressure on. I don't want to stop in that gap, because there's nothing currently spotted on the hill, but if there was something on the hill, it could start farming us. And obviously, as we just pushed along, that medium tank does get spotted, the Batchat 25T. We get a shot at the 25T to try and help the guy that was on the hill, which only tracked the back chat. We got a bit of tracking for it, though. Get another shot into the side of the back chat, because we want to, again, if someone is spotted on the hill, because we've not really sent anyone to the hill, if someone is spotted on the hill, we were always going to put shots towards them to try and get rid of them so that they're not just going to start farming us if we get spotted down here on the train tracks. But we're going to go start putting pressure on this T95 and friends. The T95 started turning for us. I mean, you know, when a 155mm gun starts looking at you, do you not poo your pants a little bit? I definitely did. I looked at him and went, oh no, buddy, I don't want that. And I pooped myself, aimed for his tracks to try and stop him in place, and then pulled back round the corner. Thankfully, though, he didn't end up firing, and he ended up getting shut down. We've got this Contra Caro Mark II tracked, and this is where the DPM is beautiful, because if this guy was running Track Mechanic, he could possibly get his tracks back on and get safe. But without Track Mechanic, which he clearly wasn't running, we can just farm all day and keep him pinned. And that's where the DPM at 4K is beautiful. And I mean, even if he is running Track Mechanic, there's actually a chance that we could still keep him permatracked with that kind of DPM. And we were in the perfect spot for the STB-1, because again, he could only see the tippy top of my turret and my gun, which is the best bit for them to be able to only see, which meant that we could ricochet shots. The 704 fires at my friend, which means we know he is still reloading, so we're just going to keep pummeling the shots in, and because the 704's got that big gun, we knew that we were out reloading that guy every single time. We're probably getting 3 shots for his every one. Now there's a 268. Again, he's just fired, but he has fantastic DPM. So I'm just hoping that I can get him into an awkward spot, keep farming away before he gets another one in, but sadly, yeah, he's going to get another shot in. And we low roll anyway, which is kind of awkward. He's making it as awkward as he can do, being a turretless TD. But, you know, turretless TD problems, and we shut him down. He did very well there to keep us, well, to get us back in front of his gun, because we could have quite easily stuck to his side like super glue and stayed safe, which is what I was hoping to do. But sadly, yeah, like I say, he had a bit of a brain, and thus he managed to push us back in front of his gun, and we took a big hit, which means we only got 405 hit points now, which... we're a one-shot for quite a few tanks. Well, I think there's 3 tanks left. IS-7, Type 5 Heavy, and I think a Bolsig. Yeah, that's just got spotted on the hill. We're a one-shot for all 3 of those, and, well, the IS-7 just got shut down. But we're a one-shot for all of those now, whereas we could have taken a hit if we hadn't taken that shot from the 268. But it is what it is. We've got the side of this Type 5 Heavy, who we have loaded the 330 heat pen for, because that will guarantee going through the side, rear, and front of this guy's turret. And we shut down the Type 5 Heavy. We're up to 7,067 damage with 1,301 assistance, and the Bolsig is the last one alive on the hill. We've loaded HE, because that will guarantee the kill on this guy. He could get a shot at me and finish me off, but I'm definitely going to get a shot at him before that happens anyway, and I could possibly shut him down. So we're aiming for where the Bolsig might appear, just waiting, boost with food to make sure that we've got the best view range possible to be able to spot him. There he is. Aim the shot. It misses. Thanks, gun. But we're going to get the reload. It reloads in time. We have his turret fully aimed. It misses again. And he shuts us down on the hot shot. Pure pain, but that's the STB-1 in general. We finished the game with 3 kills, 7,067 damage, the 1,300 assistance, high caliber, the first class for that 1,572 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the STB-1 on Himmelsdorf, showing it off yet again, and you just saw the gun handling yet again where it just goes, ha! No. And that's the way the STB-1 goes at times. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.